Oh, welcome to the channel. My name is Karsh the Goblin, and this is the GoblinCaveTV. And this week, for our weekly TTRPG book club, we are having a look at, or we are continuing our cyberpunk style, as we are having a look at Carbon 2185. Now, I'm not a backer of this. This was kickstarted, I think, last year. I wasn't a backer. I missed this one, but I picked it up at some point. I actually picked it up at some point and didn't even know I picked it up when someone else mentioned, like, oh, I got to pick this up again, and then it arrived a day later. I'm like, oh, I already did this. So the book itself is like this. Just a heads up, it does have a tag, and I love these tags. Bookmarks in books. Very, very important. Very, very important. Now, we have been having a look at core mechanics along this series, and we have been looking at the core mechanics and things like the basic rule sets, just as quick starters to get into things. Today, we're not looking at either of those. So we are looking at full book. We're looking at the full Carbon book, and we're looking at not just the full Carbon book, but we're ignoring the core rules. And the reason why we're ignoring the core rules is because most people will actually know what the core rules are, and that is the core rules are Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. This is a mod. This is a total conversion. It uses the base D20 system. I think it's open source system for roll from the Wizards of the Coast, and it uses that mostly. So we have new classes, we have new backgrounds, new styles, new setting, and a few other bits and pieces to add into that, like careers, and, well, cybernetics, of course. There's no real magic or casting or anything like that. That's taken off the grid. There is some hacking, although the hacking is not really what you would see in something like Shadowrun or Cyberpunk. So it's very, very minimized in that. Now, we have in the background for the audio, we have Syrinscape because it's amazing. Syrinscape sci-fi is what we've been playing for all of these Shadowrun and Cyberpunk and that style games, because it's amazing. We've got the Cyberpunk Forlorn Hope live gig music running in the background. That's what we've got running. So check out Syrinscape. They are amazing. They're not a sponsor of the channel, but we hype them up because we think they are just absolutely amazing. Now, back to this. So this is the 5th edition rule set for Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. Now, I have issues with this system. I am quite vocal with that, with my community, and I don't want, like, if I knew that this was a 5th edition game, I probably wouldn't have backed it. If I knew this was a 5th edition game, I might not even bought it. But it is a 5th edition game. I do have it. And I have written down, I've got it up on the title there, that it's a rules medium. I would say rules medium to hard. But that's up to other people to think of. I might actually do one of these about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and go into the core mechanics and explain why I'm against the rules and why I don't like the rules, the system itself. So the core system in Dungeons and Dragons is what we're using, which is you have attributes. They give you a stat that adds to your skill. And if you're proficient in a skill, you get a base amount in that skill. And then you add that to your ability bonus. Then you roll your d20, and then you passing or fail, etc. like that. So very simple core mechanic in that. It is a system built on exceptions, or exemptions and exceptions. So we're going to ignore all that and just have a look at the book. Now, the style of the book, the art in the book is actually really cool. Some of it really hits the spot, like this one here, which you can see here. And this is a double page spread. So some of it really hits the spot like this. Other pieces of art really do not. And it's a little bit hit and miss. Some of it's really good, some of it's not. You've got a table of contents here. We're not going to be looking at all of it. Again, I've dimmed out the screen because having a bright white PDF can be a bit annoying. So I've just put a tiny little bit of darkness just to let you see it a bit easier. So what we're going to have a look at, we're going to have a look at the creating character origins. Creating character with the origins. We don't ever do like the full creating character, but I think in this case, because the characters themselves are so different, and that's where most of the new rules are coming in, that's where we're going to have a little bit of a look at. And so the combat, it's going to run pretty much the same. They do have different ammo types, as you can see there. You've got addictions, which is quite interesting, and you've got influence. Influence is also something we might be able to get time to have a look at. But other than that, the economy is a bit weird, rent's a bit weird, food, alcohol, temporary accommodation, and travel. There's a lot of number crunching because everything's super expensive. And whereas Cyberpunk Red or Cyberpunk setting, you have EBs or Eurobucks. You've got Yuan for Shadowrun, or Nguyen for Shadowrun. In this one, you've got Wulongs. So we're changing the monies around again, but hey, it's all about the setting. So let's have a look at the creating character. We're going to ignore a lot of bits and pieces. So page 10 is where we're going to go to, and let's have a look. So creating character. So just making sure the audio is not too loud. There you go, and drop mine down. So the very first thing the player does in Carbon 2185 is create a character. Called a cyberpunk, you will guide your character through various missions and scenarios in the game. You must determine your character's personality, their reason for living the cyberpunk lifestyle, and why they are working with each other. Player characters. So with why why they are working with other player characters. That probably player could be fitted there. That's a bit of weird formatting. This chapter helps you guide you to determine your character's origin, background, skills, to select their class, and which determines their combat, blah 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 blah. As you go through this section, you'll fill out your character sheet. Okay, so determine your abilities. You can roll 60. So you can roll 2d6 plus 5 6 times, or you can do standard array. That looks really familiar. Yep. So that's your attributes done. Simple. Don't need to go into that further. Very much Dungeons & Dragons. Choose your origin. So your origin determines determines much about how you look, where you grew up, and what you were exposed to. So these are your backgrounds. Pretty simple. Origin, background. We'll have a look at what they are as well. So generate a vice. A vice is important for you to play your character, etc. So this is a flaw. This is something which is, I think it's really important to have characters with flaws. Super important to have characters with flaws, because a flawed character is what you should be looking at. A flawed character gives you more and more role-playing opportunities. And it's something, it's a string for the GM to actually pull. It's something that the other players can even pull on those strings and to play around, not just yourself. You playing with people's flaws is actually really cool. And they can be really detrimental too. Flaws in Shadowrun can be really detrimental, and they can really give you character and give you something unique. So there's actually 100 flaws. You can roll randomly or choose yourself. And even rolling randomly, it encourages you to roll randomly 3 times and pick 1 out of the 3. So at least gives you that option as well. Narrows it down, essentially. Anyway, so you have a vice. So you don't have your ideals and blah from 5th edition. You have vice instead. So your ability score, so apply your ability scores, etc. Be sure to take into point your bonuses, so +3s, +1s, minuses, etc. Generate your background. Determine your age. So your background refers to the time between leaving education and starting your life as a cyberpunk. This is where you learn skills, gain money, and items valuable to your cyberpunk career. You can find the rules for generating background in background generation. So once you've generated your background, you calculate your character's age, determine wealth, and you suffer age penalties. That's a big one. If you do not choose to pursue a career or fail an injury roll in your first term, you begin. If you choose not to pursue a career or you fail your injury roll in your first term, you begin your cyberpunk life with the clothes. With clothes, poor, and one weapon of your choice, which costs less than 10,000. That's pretty extreme. So, we'll have a look at it shortly. But yeah, choose your class. So again, that's going to determine your character's abilities with weapons, etc., and a little bit perks here and there. Then calculate skill modifiers and saving throws. Pretty much standard affair. Buying gear, calculate carrying weight. Standard affair, but there's a few things in there. And lastly, choose your name. I like to choose your name. I like to choose your name first. But anyway, so origins. So please don't look into that eyes. The eyes there are just wrong. Don't look into the eyes. Do not look into the eyes. So there's 10 origins that you can choose from. Essentially, these are your backgrounds. So you can do Badlander. You can do Gutter Punk. Corporate Kid. Regular Joe. I like the idea of having a regular Joe in here. Synth. Wormer. So Synth is a synthetic, by the way. Wormer is off-world colonists, or a child of an off-world colonist who have been able to get back onto Earth, and apparently there's an embargo, you can't get back. They are generally bigger and taller, much taller, but that's about it. So the only wormers found on Earth are either refugees from Mars or Aquarii 1E, etc. So yeah, so you get more movement speed, you get 40, and there's a few other bits and pieces in there. So this kind of working as races too here, by the way. Then you have your aging. And so aging is a big thing. At middle age, and middle age is 35 for Badlander, 16 for Synth, etc. At middle age, you're rolling 1d3 randomly for your 1d3 randomly for your physical stats, so the strength, dexterity, con, and the one that turns up, that's one that gets dropped by 1. At middle age, you also do the same thing for your other attributes, so wisdom, intelligence, and charisma, and that goes up by 1. And so it also has modifiers here for old age, ancient, etc. Carbon rejuvenation. You can reduce the effects of aging on your body by using carbon rejuvenation. The procedure costs 10 million wurong and reduces your physical age by 25 years down to a minimum of 25 years old by altering the very molecules that make up your physical form. When carbon rejuvenation procedure reduces your physical age to a younger age, it reverses the negative effects that you've gone by aging, etc., etc. You can undergo this procedure 4 times in your lifetime. God, that's just bonkers. Anyway, so people can be very, very, very very old, but it costs a heck of a lot. But just a side note that there used to be potions of rejuvenation in D&D. I played in games where we had a few of them, and we kind of went around and yeah, we're all very old characters and we've got back in. Anyway, so languages, The split of languages across the earth essentially is still going to be mostly English, 80% fluency rate, Mandarin 60%, Spanish, Arabic, and etc. etc. as it goes down. So I'm saying etc. because I can't pronounce that name. Yeah, I'm being cheeky. So that's in itself. So classes. Let's go into have a look at our classes. So, you've only got a few classes here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Your dynamo is a cross between a soldier and a is a soldier or barbarian if you think of a D&D class. So they get D12 hit points. They get really, really strong. They get essentially a rage, a version of a rage, that is. Your doc is a little bit different. Your doc is a healer that uses nanites. So your doc character, not exactly a cleric, but very much more focused on healing, and they do have a split between like some paths that they can take, which is quite nice to see. But it's very much a healing. So the enforcer is your absolute classic fighter. You get essentially the same things you'd get from a fighter. You get your not your combat expertise, but you get your fighting specialist, like 2-weapon fighting or 1-weapon fighting, defensive fighting. You get your classes. One might be it's very much a fighter. It's taken across word for word and then just edited from your fighter. I didn't say that. I'm sorry. I don't accuse anything of plagiarism, but it's very much the fighter character. So your hacker is one of the more interesting ones. So hacking, it's almost a rogue, but they can get little exploits they can do by jamming things and whatnot. It didn't look from my read through very interesting. It's a pseudo mage, if there's a mage, but it's not even really that. So they control the battlefield technology. They can remotely explode grenades, jam communications, and cause whole areas of blackout. So again, it's a pseudo mage. It's a pseudo control mage, but without actually being a mage, and it is absolutely not what you would have as a hacker in something like Shadowrun or Cyberpunk. That is very, very, very different. A very, very different version of a hacker. And I can't stress that as much as possible. So the investigator, not really any cross class here. It's one of the more unique of the classes. So you can't really say, oh, it's this or it's that compared to 5th edition D&D. The investigator just gets a bit of everything. So you could say maybe a bardish type thing, like have a little bit of everything. And I would probably play the investigator, just because it is that little bit different. The scoundrel, thief, rogue, etc. You get your sneak attack, you get expertise, very much again like the fighter and the enforcer. It's pretty much identical to your 5th edition versions. So we'll quickly go through here. Here's your dynamo. So again, you got Fury, which is essentially your rage, danger sense, rallying cries, very much the same. And you can go focuses as well. Sogos or Senku. So the Sugo is the real deal when it comes to taking damage. It's as if they don't even feel pain in the way people normally feel pain, and then that's your that's your split off there. Or the other version is weapons experts capable of using them in such a way that it makes you even more deadly. So heavy gunners, yeah. So then you got your doc. So your doc has like a medical implant, which has the nanites. It's kind of, as I said, it's kind of a weird thing. You can do like a lay on hands type thing, quick heals, patch them ups, etc. And those improve, of course. So you can go into combat medic or cyber surgeon. So those are your two split offs. So combat medic focuses on combat support and taking out enemies. They're the toughest docs in the field. So if you ever played Shadowrun and have like the what is it? The dock wagon, that type of thing. That's pretty much the combat medic dock wagon, where they come in with guns and shoot anyone in their way and then pull the person out for surgery. So the cyber surgeon focuses on healing creatures using advanced cybernetics. So you got a bit of the other one. So that would be your cyber surgeon, I think. That's kind of scary, but yeah. Here's your enforcer again. Fighting style, second wind, combat archetype. That's what I was thinking. Action surge. It's the same. Even down here, point blank, two weapon focus, marksman, defensive, dueling, heavy weapon specialist. It does have like a little bit of a shift from the melee to range, but that's about the only change in there. But again, it's pretty much identical. And you've got your rapid deployment marine, street samurai, and I think there's another one in there which I missed. Yeah, no, that's about it. I mean, only 3. I thought there was 4. Okay. So street samurai is the melee version. Yep. So your hacker. This is the different one. So you got a little bit of healing, and you got your exploits. Your exploits are like the little tricks you can do. So comms blackout, exploding grenade. I think grenade is a big one if you can find them on the battlefield. And let's see what else we've got. We've got overcrowded hound. You got hack mech, ping echo, tracking, white nose. So you got a few things as what you can do. You get a little bit of healing. So it's D8 plus your tech. And you've got better upgrades as well, or better exploits as well. But there's not really a huge amount in like what you can kind of really do here. Universal training, you get the ability to quick access multiple fields. So it's 6th level. Yep. Combat hacking. And Robomancer as well as your 2 specialists. There we go. So it's kind of a weird one, because you can't really relate it to the other stuff. So investigate again, kind of weird, can't really relate it to previous ones, as in they're actually unique content. So for your investigator, you get your expertise at 2nd level, nose for travel. At 1st level, you can use your bonus action to determine the creature's weakness on blind spots and broadcast this information to your allies. Choose a creature that you see within 60 feet of you. The next time the ally makes an attack, that sounds very much Bard-like, doesn't it? It really does. To me, that sounds Bard-like. So again, this is what you've got for that. It's got some pretty good interesting stuff. Scoundrel, rogue. I'm not even going to go into that. Rogue. Just straight rogue. Now, this is the background generation. Background generation is interesting because it has, to me, it's got some interesting stuff. So everyone goes to school to 18. It's capital offense to not go to school. So that's pretty extreme. I don't like that kind of idea. It's like, you must go to school. So after that, you then sign up for a 5-year contract for a job. And you get paid at the end of that 5-year contract. If you get injured, you don't get paid anything. And generally what it talks about here is that you essentially run a line of credit until you get paid. So it's really, really easy if you get an accident and don't get paid to be in debt. Really, really easy. I mean, it's an interesting way of doing the whole dystopian society and the downtrodden. Um, I'm not a fan of it, but it's an interesting thing. Like I like how they've got that in there. I'm just not a fan of it. Um, so you've got your injury. Each role has essentially an injury roll. So you get 2d6 plus half your intelligence modifier rounded up. That sounds weird to me. They could have changed it to something a bit different, but it's yeah, they could have just changed the actual DC, like the difficulty for these rolls, and just had just something else. But hey, who knows? They could have had like an attribute, like the way I was thinking. They could have an attribute to have that, like every role, every job, and I think this is the one that there's 10 of them, not the backgrounds. I think there's 10 of these ones, where yeah, it could be very different. Anyway, so if you do have an injury, you roll d4 to determine how many years you served. So essentially, how much debt you accrued. There's skills. So when you actually do a full term, you get a skill for that. You can roll randomly on that, or you can choose one. I like the idea of rolling randomly, but I like the randomness. Your languages as well. You can, when you do a term, you get a languages or tool, and your wages are paid out at the end of each contract. Each career path offers different wages. These wages reflect your performance in the past 5 years. A low wage roll means that you performed poorly. A high wage roll means you performed well. So this is where it comes into some very old school character generation, where a lot of the old school stuff, your character generation stuff, was very random. And D&D 5th edition has removed almost all of it. And Pathfinder 2nd edition has removed absolutely all of it. To the fact that you don't have a single dice roll rolled. Which is weird. I like the randomness. I like having flawed characters. I like having characters which may be a little bit less than someone else. Or having other characters unbalanced. Not to the extreme, but I like that unbalance in a game. It changes the roles quite a lot. So in this, you have different earning incomes which is quite random. The role you performed in your career lets you visualize different activities, so it gives you a bit of character idea of roles in there. You get a parting gift, so when you leave the career path, either through injury, retirement, or changing career, you get a parting gift. This is up to you and the GM, but essentially it's a D6 parting gift, and they're kind of weird. Some of them can be money, some of them could be like a gold watch or etc. And because money is such a hard thing to come by, you may be having to be selling those things. So retirement payout, when you decide to retire from a career and you have served enough terms in that career, you qualify. So in that career path to qualify, you receive a retirement payout. This is an additional parting gift, and anything else you may have received for your final term. You then begin your cyberpunk life. So we've got corporate drone. So your injury rate is DC 6. So remember, that's 2d6 plus half of your intelligence modifier. And so it's an easy one to pass. You can pick up one of these. So bureaucracy, computing, deception, engineering, hacking, perception, persuasion, or sense motive, etc. One tool of your choice. Or one language of your choice, which is pretty cool. Your wage is 2d10 times 10,000 ruble. That might sound a lot. The costs of everything is way up higher. Like, costs are really extreme in this game. So, you can have a facility manager, an IT support, or office role. You could come up with a ton of other ones. They always just have 3 suggestions. There's so many other ones you could do. I like the IT support look. So your parting gift could be an expensive watch, can be 25,000, and comms advanced units, nano pack, pocket computer, close average. So this is just random, and I like that parting gift is random. I think it's really cool. Your retirement packages, if you get 7 terms, that's 35 years. That's 90,000 will. That's pretty good. But remember, you're not going to get that if you fail your DC and G rolls. So that's pretty cool. So you have your criminal, you got entertainer, explorer. I don't know. Yeah, laborer, law enforcement, merchant, military. So DC goes way up higher in military, but your wage is also 3d4 instead of 2d4. And you, yeah, no parting gift either. So there's good and bad. Where am I? So technician, unskilled worker, and here's your vices. So, as I said before, there's like 100 of these. I like these vices. I think that's pretty cool. This is a must take. So it's very important. You can choose one off the table, or you can roll randomly 3 times and choose one of those 3, which just narrows down your choices. So there's a lot of them. I won't go into them, but there's a lot of them there, and I like them. And they are proper vices. Like they are proper vices. So with equipment, this is what I mean by things are expensive. So a holster one-handed is 1,000. A concealable holster is 10,000. That's just a holster. That's not actually the weapon itself. A flashlight is 20. That's not bad. But a firebomb, 15,000. Energy drink, 50. Duct tape, 20. Expensive stuff. Like really expensive stuff. And I won't go into the armor, but I'll have a look at the weapons. So weapons are even more expensive. So the other thing about weapons is every weapon in this system is bio-locked. So if you buy a weapon, it's bio-locked to you. So only you can use that weapon. But then again, yeah. So to break that bio-lock costs 100,000 wulong, and that's going to add to the price. So taking weapons off the enemies costs nothing. Like it's worth nothing, because you then got to spend another 100,000 to get that back. So I think so. Here you got a revolver for 120,000, or a heavy pistol for 120,000. To then you pick that off an enemy. Yep, great. You've got a weapon which is junk because you can't actually use it. So you then have to spend 100,000 to get the use of that. So you're only getting 20,000 off by picking up, and you also got to know who to do it through. There's no tech that can do this for you. This is a setback. This is you don't take stuff off people. And I like the idea of having that type of setback. You can also rent weapons, which I think is really cool. So if you have a contact, or if you're a corporate kid, you work for the organization, they will actually lend you out. You can rent the weapons for certain amounts. But when you're renting a weapon from shady sources, return it. Because if you don't return it, they've got other weapons and they work for very shady people. So just as a heads up, I like that idea. So here's your gun rental. There you go. So you can rent a gun for a 12-hour period. And I love that idea. And there's your bio-locked. Any firearms manufactured after 2103 are bio-locked. So that's pretty much everything for 82 years, yeah. Are bio-locked to the registered owner owning a firearm that is unlocked, with the exception of 21st century pistol, is illegal. Weapons marked with the asterisks are unlocked. If you wish to have a weapon unlocked illegally, the street price is 100,000, and you kind of need to know what it is as well. So let's see if there's anything here that have that asterisk. Sawn-off shotgun has the asterisk. Black Market SMG, 21st Century Pistol. They're the only ones that are not bio locked. So yeah, and remember, if you fail your career path at 1 on the first term, you have no money, so you have only 10,000 Wulong. So a phase shift knife is about the best you're going to get. No pistols, no shotguns, no nothing. You've only got 10,000 Wulong. You can't even get a katana. You can get a baton, a fire axe, maybe a hammer. That's about it. So it's kind of impressive. I like the idea here. So well, there was something about not there. Ammunition properties. You can use a weapon that has ammunition property to make the attack. Not by one. There was something about attaching mods. So you got silencers, you got laser targeting, things like that. And there's a difficulty for installing, so probably get it properly done. Ammo. There was ammo types, I think. Black market ammo. Oh, okay, interesting. Special spores are designed to deal different types of damage or have unusual effects to their targets. This can be used to bypass damage reduction and damage resistance of some types of armor and defenses. There's a trade-off of these special armor types, though. The damage output is lowered by one die type. So if it's a D10, it goes to D8, etc. So there you go. There's your damage type of dice. That's pretty good. I don't mind that if you get enough damage reduction or damage if you get around things. So GPS bullets are use a series of different sensor outputs to ping their location up to 2 hours after being fired from a weapon. Shoot a guy and track them. Love it. Absolutely love it. Incendiary, that's pretty normal. Flathead bullets. So there's some interesting stuff there. Ionized bullets, so a little EMP charge. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So without going fully into the game, because I do highly encourage people to buy everything here, we'll go back to the start. Why am I doing that when I can go like this? So without going into too much detail on it, there's some interesting things in here. It is not your normal cyberpunk game system. It is a take on cyberpunk, whereas things like Cyberpunk Red, Cyberpunk 2027, sorry, Cyberpunk Red, Cyberpunk 2020 are very much puring like a purist cyberpunk setting. Shadowrun is its own version of cyberpunk, which has magic as well as cyberpunk, and different races, etc., like orcs, trolls, etc. So that's its own separate thing, and that's got a 20-year plus IP behind it. There's a lot of content out for it, and it's a really, really amazing setting. The setting here is in San Francisco. There's a lot of details in the setting here as well, which I haven't gotten into today, but it's not bad. It might, like, if you get into it a lot, like, it could actually really be good. I don't know if I would, mainly because of the 5th edition core rule set. For me, that's a deal breaker. But for many, that's for many, it's the opposite. For many, because it's a 5th edition rule set, the core mechanics, that's what they seek. Because that's the system that they know and they're familiar with and they enjoy. It's the opposite effect for me. I don't like that system. That said, I think it's got promise from what they've done in here. I think they've done some interesting things. The classes, they're just the same. Like, some of them are just exactly the same. They didn't go through the route of forcing magic, but at the same time, they also didn't explore what you can do with hacking. The the career paths and things like that. I like the randomized character creation. I think it's a really good start. I don't think it very much goes into the older school games, so I can see some of that in here. I think a lot of D&D 5th edition players will not like it because you're using the D&D 5th edition base core rules and you're putting in some really old core mechanics which are very different from those core rules. So I think there's going to be, I think they're hitting the market in one section and missing the market totally in another. I don't know how it's going to be received. I mean, again, for me, just because it's based off D&D 5th edition makes it a deal breaker when there's other really good cyberpunk stuff out there with more with different systems, I should say. I was going to say with better systems, but then I remembered we did Shadowrun 6th edition, which but yeah, so look, if you enjoy D&D 5th edition and you want to look into a different like a cyberpunk or modern style world, this is totally for you. There are actually a few more Kickstarters starting soon and about the same thing. So there's a few actual cyberpunk style D&D 5th edition rule mods. I think this is probably going to be the more popular one of them. And yeah, so if it's for you, you'll love it. I don't know if you'll like the whole character creation with the randomness, but it is an older style and it's a style which does work really well. Really push into the flaws because it's actually what makes your character makes your character really have life in the region. And so look, go for it. It's not for me, but if you enjoy it, go for it. That's kind of, I can't be too negative just because of what it's based on, because that's my own personal feelings. There's some really good stuff in here though. Like from what I've read, there's some really good stuff in here. I haven't put it all out here in this little video, but have a look. Go buy it. Check it out at dragonturtlegames.com. You can get physical books, you can get PDFs, and of course, TTRPG. You can get your PDFs from. So go check it out. It's D&D, but with a few changes. So for me, GoblinCaveTV, thanks for coming in. I can't do too much about this one, but thanks for coming in. Bye for now.